appropriate
Recording
steps
in progress.
have not been taken to prevent irregular expenditure. There are currently national intervention sessions to address the prevention of irregular expenditure, and improved processes have been implemented to prevent fruitless and wasteful expenditure. As far as employees doing business with the state is concerned, the centralization of supporting documents for approval of other administrative work outside of employment have been centralized at the National Health Office, and the determination test not conducted within the prescribed timeframes. Incorporate key performance areas into the on discipline management in all the supervisors' performance agreements and plans with regard to the investigation of misconduct. On Annexure D, on information systems, the total number of findings, there's 13 with 57 actions that has been developed to address that. 4 findings were made on the integrated justice system, Telkom Towers 3, project management 2, and information security management or cyber security, a total of 4. Of the 57 actions that had to be implemented, a total of 46 have already been completed. The actions that relates to project management on the integrated justice system, where the project milestones and overall project delivery targets are not achieved, we have included penalties on the service level agreement with SITA. As far as the inadequate management that leads to potential loss of financial losses and inadequate risk management in pertaining to hardware as in the Telkom Towers have been repurposed and installed at other priority sites. Ineffective project management over IC connectivity project due to the lack of project documentation. There's a weekly progress update to be submitted to the project management office to address that, and project change controls to be compiled to revise the project timelines as and when it is required. And lastly, the inadequate ICT strategy plan for the department and inadequately designed to address the cybersecurity strategy. The cybersecurity strategy has to be compiled and submitted for approval and implementation of that specific strategy. In terms of the rollovers, there's 2 within the technology management services environment with 2 associated actions, and in human resource development, there's 1 with 2 associated actions. 2 of the 4 actions that has been identified has already been implemented. In conclusion, talking to the financial part, Chairperson, there are currently no challenges in terms of the progress that we and the actions that has been implemented in terms of the post-audit action plan for the 23-24 audit. The steering committees are in place to monitor progress that has been made in this regard. There are regular accountability sessions that is also conducted during quarterly performance reviews. Internal audit is assisting us to monitor and validate the progress that is made with the PARP. And exceptions emanating from the internal audit validation process are also addressed by corrective measures, and all actions have already been commenced, and those that are outstanding is planned to be completed by the end of March 2025. Moving to performance information, Chair. The approach in the performance information environment, Chair, differs slightly from what you've seen in the financial environment because we deal with findings that are being made at police station level. 95% of the findings relate to activities that are conducted at station level, and we have quite a significant footprint to deal with. So we have developed a generic post-audit action plan that needs to be implemented at station, district, and provinces. That is being based on the root causes of analysis that were conducted on all the audit findings that were made. And the relevant revisions has been made in consultation with the business units that are affected primarily within Program 2 and 3. And as I will be presenting the implementation, Chairperson deals with a phased approach where we implement all the actions within 3 phases. And during the November 2024, we conducted a district self-assessment to evaluate compliance with PARP requirements. Just in terms of the overall audit on performance information, Chairperson, there are various environments totaling 5 in the 2 programs that are being audited. We had no findings within the audit report affecting the audit report within the DPCI and operations environment. In total, 3 findings within forensic environment, 5 in the detective service environment, and 6 in the visible policing environment. Other important matters, we had 7 within DPCI, 3 for forensic, and 4 for visible policing. Chairperson, we've also developed and implemented a national instruction on the management of the audit on performance information in the South African Police Service, and this has been implemented. The National Commissioner has appointed the Divisional Commissioner of Detective and Forensic Services as the chairperson of the National Audit Steering Committee on Performance Information. That steering committee is already activated, and we have also established audit steering committees on performance information, honorable chairperson at provincial divisional levels as well. We have also adopted 2 district in conjunction with AGSA, chairperson. I believe the committee has been briefed on that. We started with Waterberg in Limpopo. We are basically in an advanced stage with that specific project. And then we have recently adopted the district in the Northwest Province, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. That is also a new one where we are implementing interventions with AGSA to see how the audit outcome can be improved. We have conducted our briefing sessions with provinces and districts and station management for the upcoming audit. We had accountability sessions at provincial level in terms of the actions that needs to be implemented. So we have deployed audit readiness or preparatory teams in all the provinces that are already working, Honorable Chairperson. The audits have already started in the 2 districts that has been adopted, and soon we will start with the other provinces. We've also included other specialized units that has got an impact on the audit that is conducted at police station levels. We've conducted localized inspections at all the audit locations to ensure that there's compliance with internal controls. And internal audit is also assisting us in specific audits that they've identified in the provinces in preparation for the audit. Chairperson, slide number 19 is just an extract. The post-audit action plan on performance information is a very detailed document that goes into the activities that needs to be executed at all the organizational levels to address. And this is just one example of phase 1 that focuses on awareness, that indicates the activity that had to be implemented by the 15th of August, that deals with a briefing session that had to be conducted at station level, where members had to be informed on the purpose of the audit, the importance of accurate information, the audit outcomes, typical findings that has been made, etc. And this, before this action 3 and 2, where we had similar sessions at national and provincial level, as well as district level, to do the same, to make sure that everybody in the department at all 1,170 police stations are aware of the audit, what is being audited, what findings can be made, etc. So we have conducted a compliance assessment in November, where we found that at district level we had 96% compliance and 88% compliance at station level with the requirements of the POP. We were aiming at 100%, and we have implemented the necessary measures, Chairperson, to make sure in those districts and provinces where we had below 100% that actions are implemented to ensure that awareness immediately takes place. Phase 2 of the plan, Chairperson, focuses on daily measures that has to be implemented. The idea is that we are audit ready at any given point in time. So this is also an extract from phase 2, activity 6 and 7, where it indicates specific actions that needs to be implemented by police stations to deal with findings. You will note, for instance, in activity 6, we indicate that there needs to be a physical inspection of the dockets that are being within the contact crime category before and prior on the registration on CAS, before it's allocated to the investigators, and when the dockets are being received by the investigators. And this needs to happen on a daily basis. And to ensure that that happens, that's the responsibility of the relief commander, the section commanders for detective service, and the specific investigator. We've also conducted, Chairperson, briefing sessions with all the provinces in terms of each one of these actions that needs to be implemented. When we did the compliance assessment, Honourable Chair, we found that in terms of the daily measures that needs to be implemented, we had a compliance rate of between 80 to 96% at station and district level. There are a couple of areas that we've identified where specific actions to the inspection of dockets and control over the firearm application and the management of investigative leads. And this has been highlighted in our interaction with the various steering committees at provincial level. Phase 3, Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson, that relates to the validation of transactions, and this takes place at the end of every quarter. At the end of every quarter, there's specific expectation on activities that needs to be implemented at station and district and provincial level. This is an extract of one of the activities, activity 15, where, for instance, we highlight that the physical inspection needs to be conducted at the end of a quarter of all contact crimes that has been registered to check for the following: the age of the victims, the gender, whether the complainant is or the victim is correctly identified, that the crimes are correctly captured. So, Chairperson, if phase 2 is properly implemented, it means that phase 3 will be very easy, because if you do the activities on a daily basis, it will be correct when you do the validation at the end of the quarter. We've conducted an assessment on implementation compliance as well on this specific phase, Chairperson, and we've found the compliance rate is between 86 and 98%, and we had some districts that were problematic in terms of the inspections of the crime dockets, the investigation of leads, and the submission of the certificates to confirm that activities have been executed, and that has specifically been addressed during our interactions again with the steering committees. So in conclusion, Chairperson, when it comes to performance information, the audit findings that are identified, they are transaction level activities at police station level. We have a widespread coverage. We have 1,170 police stations in 52 districts in 9 provinces. So it's quite a significant footprint that we have to deal with, and we have to make sure that these activities that I've just highlighted are implemented at all these police stations. So there is a significant reliance on provinces and districts to support us in this regard. Coming to the activities of internal audit and the audit committee, to address the repeat audit findings and improvement of the audit outcome, there has been amendments made to the audit plan, and they were approved by the audit committee and the accounting officer. So they will be focusing on the alignment of the audit plan, specifically on contingent liabilities, asset management, procurement of goods and services, irregular expenditure, and performance information. So the audit plan, as you will note, Honourable Chair, has been aligned with the audit findings, so that the necessary support is provided in that regard. And internal audit is assisting us to prepare for the audits during the interim and final audits. And they are also doing follow-ups on the recommendations that were made by AGSA. They've also assessed, Chairperson, the functionality of the various audit steering committees. As I've indicated, this has been established at national divisions and provinces. And Chairperson will note that there are some of the chair of the steering committees that has been identified where there's room for improvement. This is currently being addressed then these interventions are being led by the chairpersons of the national steering committees, both in the finance and performance information environment. In terms of the validation by internal audit, Chairperson, slide number 29 just give an indication of the actions that I've already presented and the action that has been completed. And Chairperson then will note that there is validation that is currently taking place by internal audit. We're in column number 4. where they have validated a total of 96 of the actions that has already been implemented, and that they are still in process with the ones that are highlighted in the last column. Contingent liabilities, they've conducted audit or concluded their audits in 9 provinces and head office, where findings were made and is currently being addressed. Audits were concluded in 9 provinces and head office for forensic assets. There are also findings that is being addressed. Procurement, they are busy with the audit of bids that are below 1 million. That is currently in progress. And when it comes to financial statements, the statements for the period 31 December were reviewed, and there were no material misstatements that were identified. On the performance information, internal audit is involved, Chairperson, in our adopted district project in Kenneth Kaunda and Waterberg. They have identified in terms of the progress that we've made, that there are certain corrections that needs to be implemented while we are preparing for the final audit. They will be presenting their final detailed findings in February to the audit committee. And these are the sites where they are currently assisting us for the interim and final audit in the respective province, in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, Western Cape, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal. As far as the audit committee itself is concerned, they comments on what we are currently busy with, indicating that the South African Police Service has developed a comprehensive post-audit action plan, and this do address the findings and the root causes that are leading to the findings that are being highlighted by AGSA. We are involved in the development of relevant and viable responses to the audit outcomes. There are responsibilities identified in the plans with the relevant accountability. There is impact of audit outcomes on individual performance management is currently being addressed, and it also identifies best practices where clean audits were achieved and the requirements that needs to be implemented or met to ensure that we achieve a clean audit. The action plans include actions to be addressed at station level, specifically, Chairperson, the ones that I've highlighted. District and provinces are providing the necessary assistance to stations on a regular basis. In instances, this happens on a weekly or a monthly basis. And the National Office is providing necessary guidance and monitoring progress on a monthly basis. And also confirmation from the Audit Committee that Audit Steering Committee were established and that they are functional at provincial and national level. On the 21st of January 2025, the Audit Committee met with management and specifically the provinces to assess the progress that has been implemented with the implementation of the post-audit action plans based on feedback that were received from the provinces. It has been noted by the Audit Committee, Chairperson, that although the actions are implemented, there are still actions that we need to reinforce to make sure that we eliminate the recurring findings before we go into the final audit after March 2025. The Audit Committee's interventions, they are emphasizing that the department must work towards a clean governance and administration, and it should not only result in an improved audit opinion, but also improved service delivery as far as our mandate is concerned. We need to ensure as a department that there's accountability by all SAPS employees, and there needs to be regular monitoring and of the progress that has been made with the implementation of our action plans. They've adopted and approved the revised internal audit plan, focusing on the areas that are of concern, and that the focus areas that has been identified for focus by the Audit Committee includes the audit of performance information, contingent liabilities, asset management, and procurement. It must be noted, Chairperson, that the internal audit has already started with these audits during the third quarter. And as I indicated in the previous slide, they will be presenting that to the Audit Committee in the upcoming meeting. As far as the interventions by the Executive Authority is concerned, Chairperson, specifically when it comes to the capacitation of the detective services, And this has also got a link to the audit findings that has been made in the department. There is a project that is currently being implemented by Detective Service as they've been contending with an increase in caseload for an extended period of time and lack of sufficient resources, resulting in underperformance and raising concerns about the effectiveness of crime detection and investigation. There's a backlog that has accumulated over a period of time that necessitate systemic docket reduction strategies and improve workload management in the detective service environment, and various interventions and initiatives have been undertaken to address these challenges, including the latest capacity building intervention that has been led by both the Minister and the National Commissioner. We are committed to ensure that we improve the functioning of detective service through the capacitation of that specific environment, the overall improvement of the performance of the detective service, the achieving of significant reduction in caseload, increasing of our detection rates across the categories of crime, and improving conviction rate, and building and restoring community confidence in SAPS. The SAPS is currently managing just below 2 million open case dockets, Honourable Chairperson, of which just over 500,000 are older than 2 years. And to address this, the additional resources are required in terms of the number of detectives that are available to handle outstanding dockets. But unfortunately, if there's an increase in the number of personnel allocated to detective service environment, that will require an increased budget allocation and funding as well. So the SAPS is currently exploring the contracting of former seasoned detectives whose expertise will be invaluable in this process. And the determining of a sustainable funding model for this initiative is a crucial step towards the successful execution of the project. So the SAPS has developed an employment concept proposal for consideration by management and the ministry that includes the key elements of renewable contracts, the identification of roles and responsibilities to ensure that there's effective accountability, and to development of an assessment criteria in collaboration with HRM to guide performance evaluation and contract renewals of the seasoned detectives that we would like to contract. The last part, Chairperson, deals with what happens in the communication technology environment, where the TMS Environment Technology and Management Services identified a couple of areas where they can assist with the management of data on the system. They've proposed certain interventions to improve the efficiency of the caseload management in the department in terms of digital operational capabilities, the implementation of system to capture and manage reporting activities. That is currently the systems are already in place in the department. What is required at this point in that regard is that adequate support be provided to the capabilities within the department that is responsible for the maintenance or the data capturing. The specific focus is on the effective management of data integrity, making sure that all records are properly scanned and allocated, and that all control measures that are available on the systems, that they are regularly updating in terms of the transferring of dockets and updating of the status of the dockets, etc. There are certain fields that we've identified that can be automated, where, for instance, to address audit findings, if, for instance, you have the ID number of a victim available, if that is captured, that the age is correctly calculated from that, and that the gender is determined from the detail that has been captured, and that then the system then regularly provides the management in the respective environment with the necessary reports so that they can monitor the areas where errors have been identified, in terms of the corrective measures that can be implemented by the department. Honourable Chair, that concludes the presentation on the post-audit action plans that has been implemented by the South African Police Service. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, General Rabi. Honorable Kola Barnard, your hand is up.
Apologies. Apologies. I thought we would be going to questions now.
No, we can. I think it would be good to have a round of questions. We have about 30 minutes for questions and a bit of discussion. And then we'll move to Psira. I don't want to mix the two up, otherwise I would have said let's go through with that. But let's allow about 30 minutes of discussion. Honorable Kola Barnard, I've noted you as first. Are there any other questions? Let me just, sorry, I'm just noting the order. Honorable Ghana, see you. Honorable Schikkeling, Honorable Mokoena, and Honorable Meshwe. Let's start with you, Honorable Kola Barnard.
Thanks very much.
Chair, sorry, Chair.
Apologies.
Yeah, can you just also note Honorable Plus as well? Apologies, Chair. Trying
Sorry.
to put my hand here. I can't see
Sorry,
the
Honorable
function.
Blosia, no problem. I've got you. Honorable Kola Barnard, please continue.
Thank you. Perhaps the SAPS could explain the lack of accountability for the delays in the implementation of the Integrated Justice System project, and the fact that there's no coordinated effort to implement said project. Now, that system has been spoken about, promises made within the SAPS for at least the past 18 years. The promises being that the victim would be able to go online to see if the perpetrator had been arrested, the court date, the jail time, the release date would all be there, and every docket would be online. And yet still the system has its glitches. I'm still hearing of dockets sold regularly. They just disappear. They're either at the manual stage or online. Please explain where the millions, I want to say millions, probably hundreds of millions of rands have gone in terms of this system, which really should be first class at this stage. Then is there, in relation to the legal claims, we're talking 67.4 billion rand, is there a workable plan and focus on attempting to prevent these legal claims against the SAPS? I mean, the amount goes up every single year. It just says so much about the SAPS. Now, what would, say, your top 5 claims involve? How much of it relates to attacks on citizens? And then we're looking at the extraordinary report on the figures provided by Vispol and the detectives in terms of crime stats and the operational targets. It's shocking that inaccuracies have been highlighted. To my knowledge, I don't know that this has ever happened before. What has happened, and how do we now trust what you actually put out there? Explain what's happened there, please. There can be nothing more terrifying to a citizen under attack than to have the 10111 call hung up in their ear. Now, that's what I presume abandonments relate to. There has been for years a situation of insufficient training of those who man the phones. What are you doing about it? I can't imagine what it would be like to be begging for help when someone hangs up in your ear. Unlawful arrests. You paid out 617.8 million rand. You paid out. This is not still in process. It seems the SAPS members are now committing more crimes than the criminals. Where is your training at? Where is the consequence management? Have every one of those cases been dealt with? Have those people been kicked out of the SAPS? What is the situation? And finally, the forensic data analysis analyst paying 52.9 million for services not rendered. Yes, there are 23 SAPS members behind this. Have they been suspended, fired, jailed? What's been the consequence management in terms of disciplinary? Has the money been recovered? That's the big one. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kola Barnard. I'm going to allow the questions from Honorable Ghana. Then we will go to answers before we go to the rest. And the reason is I want to make sure that we cover all the questions and answer. Honorable Ghana.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Good morning to the colleagues and members of the South African Police Service. Just 3 points that I want to to raise. I think the first one is so far as the missing doggets. Honorable Kwanapan has touched on that, because that remains one of the big issues facing the police, and also breaking the trust between the citizens and the police themselves, just to understand in terms of consequence management. So one of the things that is missing from this presentation is that it is presented as if we are dealing with system failures, like it's a computer that has failed, or it's a machine that has failed, whilst we know very well that it's people that have failed. The presentation does not, in a way, give a sense to the people that were involved, because it's people in the main that were involved in all these issues. So that's the first one. The second one that I want to raise, Chair, it's around the procurement. So we do know that the bulk of the problem that we have in this country, it's procurement. That's why you have a situation that even those that are not in procurement have found a way to act as procurement officers, and some end up selling doggets so that they also get a little cut. One of the big issue in my oversights that I visit is just the general state of many police stations. And there's always this, I call it passing of the buck between public works and the police themselves. But then if the procurement side of the police, it's not as clean as it ought to be, and people knowing, maybe because of the alleged buddy system that happens, that there will not be consequences, or even when they are, it will not lead to jail time for many of the people that are involved in that space. I want to check insofar as just the upkeep of the police stations. I know that there was that point that was raised by the Minister of Public Works, that the police owe over 2 billion to public work. Whether how far is that dead, or that negotiation that's happened with public works. The final point, Chair, which if you when I go through the presentation, the slide around the state of the detectives and the number of open cases, almost 2 million open case dockets, and over half a million that have been open for over 2 years. And we expect the detectives to excel in that particular space. Maybe I know that General Ravi read through the slide, but just to get a sense, I know today the minister just checked on Twitter, Chair, that there's health and wellness that is taking place. But insofar as the detectives, because some of them don't even have as you know, Chair, they don't have all the tools of trade required for them to do the job. What are the assistance that is being given to the current detectives? And when will the 4,000 that the president spoke about come online, for lack of a good English? And whether the 4,000 that the president was talking to last week, Thursday, are they the same ones that were presented to us last year, Chair? So it's just a good packaging of the same information that we received last year. Just to get that clarity, Chair, it will help. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ghana. I'm going to head back to General Rabi. Do you want to field questions? How would you, or do we go to General Dampani again? How do you suggest we go about it?
Well, but Chairperson, may I suggest that we follow the proposal from your side, sir, to go to General Dampani?
Thank you, General Robbie. General Dampani, we can hand over to you for the first 2 rounds of answers, and then we will go over to Honorable Schikkeling and Honorable Mokoena, followed by Honorable Meshwe and Honorable Bloze.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, as we indicated, we do have the relevant managers in the room. I would then allocate as follows. We will start with the issue of legal claims in this particular regard. The category that is troubling us, Chair, is the issue of detention and unlawful arrest and detention in this regard. I'll hand over to Legal Services, the Acting Divisional Commissioner, just to indicate the plan that we have, Chair, just to give comfort to the committee as well, that this is a matter that it is receiving attention from the level of the executive authority. There has been instructions as well as guidance and activities that has been given to our legal department, working together, of course, with visible policing to deal with this particular category that is troubling us. So first, we will start with the Acting Divisional Commissioner from Legal Services, then visible policing in terms of consequence management, what has happened in terms of us dealing with this message at station level, and the consequence management when it comes to those that would have been found negligence and having caused the department this civil litigation. Then it will be followed by Lieutenant General Fani, who is responsible for supply chain management to deal with the issue of DPWI, as well as SAPS and the procurement in general, as well as the upkeep of police stations in this regard. And General Mavunda will then talk to the findings that are relating to the ICJS system and what is progress up to so far. The detectives will then come in terms of the issues of long outstanding dockets and the project, as well as the guidance and instructions that the ministry has given in this regard. In that order, Chair, if you allow, we'll start with legal.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, General.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. To the Deputy Minister, all protocol observed. Mine will be with regard to the questions with regard to the workable plan to ensure that there's reduction of civil claim, and also the concern regarding the consequence management regarding the unlawful arrest and detention. Chair, as legal service, I think all of us, we are all concerned with regard to the amount that on the civil claim that have been paid on the civil claim, because it means now all this money has to be directed to the payment of civil claim. Now, as a department, we've come with measures to ensure that we deal with the issues of civil claim. Firstly, is the plan that we're having, or plan that we are going to, measures that we are going to put in place, is we have going to deal with the reduction of civil claims themselves, as well as the reduction of legal costs, because also legal costs is one of our concern with regard to the high costs that we are seeing. Now, as part of preventative measures that are being put in place to reduce civil claim, one of the things that we are implementing is the issue of the service delivery implementation plan as legal service, whereby we ensure that we conduct risk inspection at the station level, where we are going to the station to ensure that we check our register to determine whether how long has a person been in our detention facility, to avoid a situation whereby we have more than 48-hour detention, and the reason why the person is detained, whether is it something that can require that a person be given J534, or that person necessarily needs to be in our detention facility. So that is part of the measures that we have put in place. The issue of the consequence management, it was also raised as one of the concern. As legal service, we are looking at the process of recovering from members that have contributed, but also to recover from also where the other party have sued us and we established that we win the case, we are also establishing the ground for us to be able to recover, because we've realized that if there are also no consequence management from the people that are instituting, then we are receiving a lot of civil claims, and this is increasing our contingent liability. Internally, Chairperson, what we are also doing, we are collaborating with the special SIU unit to ensure that if there are any criminal element that has been established with regard to some of the action of the members, then we deal with those, or where we suspect that there might be collusion between the private attorneys together with our members, look into it and see whether can't we deal with those collusion to ensure that we reduce civil claims. We have also established the steering committee to down manage civil claims at both national level together with the provincial level. At the steering committee, that's where if every quarter we provide 10 top station nationally and top 10 station within each province. Now, with this top 10 station, that's where we make the station commander and the management of the station to account, so that they are aware of the contribution that they are making towards the civil claims, and they must come up with measures to ensure that they reduce civil claims, and also ensure that they deal with, they deal with consequence management against their members on the ground, because by the time when you receive these civil claims, sometimes you'll find that it's 3 years down the line and the member is no longer even within that police station. So we also make the commander and the management of the station accountable to ensure that there's accountability, there's command and control in terms of how the station is being run, and in terms of who should be in our detention facility, to avoid a situation whereby unnecessary civil claims are being instituted against the state. We are also doing conducting training workshop, roadshows, and also providing circulars and directives where we have identified that this issue is leading to civil claim. We provide directive to say, station, these are things that you should avoid, so that we don't get a repeat finding of the same civil claims. So those are some of the things that we are doing. We have also started with going to the colleges themselves to ensure that members already trainees, they already know the do's and the don'ts, so that when they start joining the organization, they should avoid civil claims, and also what are the consequences should they be found that they have caused civil claims against the state. The other measures that we are putting in place that also led to also some of the audit findings is to the issue of data integrity, because we've realized that sometimes that claims are captured twice, whereby perhaps they started with a name, and then when it submits someone's, then they started with the surname. So those we put measures in place through our TMS to ensure that we can be able to identify duplicates and avoid a situation whereby there's overstatement or misstatement with regard to our data integrity, and also to avoid audit finding, unnecessary audit finding. We have established collaboration between SAPS and other stakeholders. One of the things that when we were doing root cause analysis of civil claims, we realized that some of the things that are leading to civil claims is the lack of collaboration between the detectives or SAPS members together with NPA, because it is important that also the NPA give directive to police members if the charge is wrong, but there's an alternative charge, that prosecutor must assist the police officer in terms of the correct charge that needs to be put on the charge sheet, rather than just removing the matter or withdrawing the matter from the court roll. But it is also the responsibility of the prosecutor. So those are engagement that we are also having with your NPA to ensure that at the end of the day, we don't end up with civil claims that are unnecessary. Also, there's collaboration with the Department of Constitutional Development and Justice on case management, so that if there's a judgment at court, we should be provided with the judgment within time frames, so that we avoid a situation whereby we get judgment after 6 months, and that judgment now, because we were supposed to have paid the judgment within 30 days in line with the State Liability Act, then we incur unnecessary costs, which are increasing the legal cost and increasing the amount that we are paying with regard to civil claims. Or another initiative that we are doing is with regard to the other department, like your Department of Health, whereby you'll find that most of the cases are being thrown out of court because you'll find that the J88 was not found, or there's a delay from the Department of Health. So those are the things, as we are doing root cause analysis to establish exactly what is it that is causing civil claims. We have established some of these things that other stakeholders have got impact in terms of the delays of providing documentation within the timeframes. So matters end up being removed from the court roll. Now we have established also a task team with the Office of the Solicitor General, because the Office of the State Attorney are our key stakeholder. If the State Attorney is not coming to the party with regard to issues of management of state litigation, then we'll have a challenge and will forever be having a problem of increase in legal costs as well as civil claims. So we saw it fit that we have a resuscitation of that task team, whereby all 9 provinces head of state attorney, we meet together with all 9 provinces head of legal service within SAPS, where we sit down and identify where are the challenges, the issue of capacity, how do we overcome those challenges that we are encountering, and also ensure that we come up with proactive measures to deal with those, because I think one of the issues that is also leading to increase in legal costs is because most of the matters that SAPS is handling, they are being outsourced to private attorneys. So those are part of the things that are increasing our legal cost, and we end up having to pay because the state attorney is complaining of issues of capacity. So all the matters, even the matters that should be dealt with by state attorney, we end up having to be outsourced. So those are some of the things that are leading to increase of civil claims, and those are measures that we put in place to ensure that we address them. So we also ensure that there's implementation of legislative policies. We have policies within our department where we can be able to deal with those, and there are a number of national instruction on how to effect arrest. So we time and again put it to the station commander and station management to say there are policies that give guidance in terms of how you should effect arrest, the treatment of the arrested person, when should we give bail, when should we not give bail, how to do property and exhibit management within our SAPS 13, issues of how to deal with domestic violence, because it's also one of the things that leads to civil claim, whereby then the complainant is now coming back to the judge or to court to say, I want to withdraw this case. Now, the fact that that person was within our detention facility, although the act is saying detain that person is a direct detention, even if it's assault common, when coming to GB or GBV or domestic violence, it's important that we arrest, is direct arrest. But the fact that now the person was detained, then the person feels that he has the right to institute civil litigation against SAPS. So those are some of the things that we have put in place to reduce civil claims. In terms of the strategy to reduce the legal cost, we are implementing the recovery processes, where we are recovering the legal costs from both government departments, whereby we are enjoying with other government stakeholders. We are recovering so that where they need to pay their part of the civil claims, and where we have won cases, we need to recover. Where the members acted outside their scope, then we also need to come up with a plan to recover from that particular member, so that at least there are consequences at the end of the day. And we also try to make noise so that we avoid a situation whereby there's a repeat finding, or at another province the person is doing the same thing. I think we are also in the process of drafting the standard operating procedure, or the memorandum of agreement between us and the Office of the Sheriff, because some of the legal costs are emanating from the issues of the rate of execution. So we have established that there might be some non-compliance in how the process has been done in terms of the legislation. So we are being proactive to address those issues, so that we engage the sheriff, we engage private attorneys to say, before we can issue a writ of execution, these are things that needs to be dealt with. So those are some of the measures that we are as an organization putting in place with regard to the reduction of civil claims, and also ensuring that we reduce the legal costs. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. General Dampani, over to you again.
Thank you, Chair. We will then move over to supply chain management. The General Fund will touch on the issues between DPWI and us, as well as procurement in general. General Fund.
General Depani, may I ask that in terms of all the answers that we keep them very direct and brief. I just want to make sure we get through everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. General Fund.
Thank you.
Honorable Chair. Oh, sorry.
Honorable Skosana, I've noted your hand. I've written it
Thank
down. General Fani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, DM, and all protocol observed. I picked up two. I picked up two questions that need to be responded to. Chair, the issue of the state of the police stations is a concern to us as SAPS as well. I just need to take the Honorable Chair and the Honorable members through the challenges that we've got in brief. We've got some of the police stations that are devolved, and we have some that are not devolved. The devolution agreement that we have with Public Works is that the devolved police stations will be maintained and repaired by SAPS, which we are doing. The police stations are either on a fair or an excellent state because we have a deliberate program within our facilities environment to ensure that we have a good upkeep of those devolved police stations. We do have a bulk of our police stations that are non-devolved, meaning that the Public Works has to put a program in their facilities environment for repair and maintenance of those police stations. They do not have a contract at the moment. There was an indication that it would be concluded. I have not received a copy of the concluded contract. It may have, but we have not seen work that needs to happen at the police stations to upkeep them to the state where we would be satisfied that the non-devolved police stations are being maintained. We have made an application to Public Works on numerous occasions to have that function of maintenance of the police stations devolved to us. However, in terms of GIAMA and regulations that governs it, Public Works has been unable to provide us with that devolution permission to repair and maintain our facilities. In the meantime, what we are then doing in terms of our agreement with them for occupation of those non-devolved police stations, we are paying accommodation charges. Out of that accommodation charges is a fee for repair and maintenance of our facilities. And we are expecting Public Works to use or utilize that money to repair our police stations. We would still pick up those challenges until such time that we have a deliberate repair program that Public Works would present to us. At the moment, we are in the dark, and we are busy engaging and making sure that we do get that repair and maintenance program on their side. The other question that was asked is, do we owe Public Works any money? No, we have paid all the fees that are due to Public Works. There is no invoice outstanding. However, I have to mention that Public Works embarked on a program which they called shared savings, where the intent or the objective of the program was to save SAPS or any other participating department money in terms of their water and lights account. We as SAPS have not realized those savings. So any invoice that purports to suggest that we have received a saving out of the program, we are rejecting it. And therefore we have asked Public Works to give us an indication of where was the initial measurements, what and where have they saved us money, so that we can be able to share in the savings. We are still awaiting that report. In the absence of such a report, we are unable to pay because the accounting officer will not be able to justify why that payment was done. That's the only thing that is outstanding. But in terms of our day-to-day agreement, in terms of what we have with Public Works, no money is due to them. from South African Police Service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General Fani. General Fani, I just want to ask that we put a side note there to talk about Delft Police Station in the Cape Flats. We don't have to, we can discuss it later, but let's just make a note on that. Thank you, General Dupani.
Thank you, Chair. Next will be Lieutenant General Mabunda on the ICJS. General Mabunda, can we address directly the questions from Honorable Colonel Barnard on ICJS?
Good morning, Chairperson, the honorable members, and the Deputy Minister Matale. All protocol is observed. With regard to IJS findings, we had IJS findings which are directly talking to the delays of the projects that are developed by SETA, which have been escalated through the IJS board, and the IJS board is also monitoring such because it's funded from that particular budget that comes from national. But where we had a delay in the IPM, which is Integrated Persons Management, that has been resolved. We are in progress of implementing the stations in the country. We have other findings that were related to the ICDMS delay, which is part of the investigative work portion, where there are functions which need to be automated on the web. There, SETA didn't have the skill or the contractor that could continue with the development. Since the 28th of January, SETA has informed us that the contract has been signed between the supplier that has been appointed to continue with the development of the ICDMS. But in essence, it must be noted that we do not pay for any of the planned deliverables that would have not been delivered. We only pay for that has been delivered. Whatever that is not delivered, we do not pay for it. But in the emphasis that we would like to put forward is that the contract is now in place. SETA will be engaging with the supplier that we start the project again to enhance the ICDMS to be put on the web of such technology. But ICDMS is working. That is the reason that we present that. There are functions on the system which assist the users to be able to monitor the inspection of the dockets, the dockets that are not allocated, the update of the dockets on the system. The docket, when it's scanned, it will have that information of the docket on the system as it's scanned, which is able to be viewed by the prosecutor, by whoever at NPA that would want to have a view of what sits in that particular docket. But we are emphasizing that in the physical inspections that the user, which is detectives, will do, functions are there to equip the users how to check the status of the docket on the system, and it highlights as such. I will end it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. We then move over to visible policing. Major General Pinar is in the meeting. Major General Pinar, you touched on the 10.111 abandonment calls issues as well as unlawful arrests. What interventions have we done in supporting the other initiatives from our legal department? Major General Pinar.
Thank you, General, and good morning to the Honourable Chairperson, Honourable members, and the senior managers in attendance or protocol observed. I am trying to get the video to show. I'm just worried that I'll lose connection. Honourable Chairperson, on the issue of the, we start with the civil claims and the illegal arrest and unlawful detention. Visible policing with our colleagues in the provinces, because the visible policing functions at a station level work from the division through the provinces to the districts and the stations. We work closely with the provincial commissioners in workshopping the specific issues that we've identified that cause and contribute to civil claims. So we have identified, we've done a root cause analysis as part of the civil claims process that General Morena Chua explained. And we then workshop that at station level, at district level, at provincial level, and from the division, as we visit operational units, whether it's our national units or our police stations, we inspect the registers, and we then workshop specific findings with the stations. And in every one of these sessions, we work through the issues on the post-audit action plan that are the causes and contributing factors to audit findings, as well as the causes and contributing factors to civil claims. So I think a lot of that was covered in the input by the Acting Divisional Commissioner of Legal Services. I don't want to repeat, but the operational management must, as part of their day-to-day supervisory function, they must check the registers, and if they identify any member that acted incorrectly, so in other words, if they inspect the cell register and find that in terms of detention, there was detention that was not handled according to the prescripts, they must then deal with that immediately and on the spot. So there must be immediate corrective action taken, and that could include disciplinary action. So if there was a member that committed misconduct by, for instance, detaining a person when they shouldn't have detained that person, then there must be disciplinary action taken in terms of our disciplinary regulations. So that must happen from the relief commander. So we have also, in terms of our work with HRD, included these specific aspects in the training programs for specific visible policing functions at station level. So your relief commander's training course deals with civil claims, it deals with audit findings. The same with the visible commanders, the station commanders. And then we also, as part of the post-audit action plan processes, in our awareness functions, in our day-to-day auditing functions, and our monitoring, we hold the station commanders, the visible commanders, the district commanders in the provinces accountable for executing these actions. And if it's not done as it should be, then there must be consequences management taken. I can't see if my video is working. It shows red and it shows it's on, but I can't see myself, so I trust that it is on. On the issue of the 10.1, we have a national project that we're implementing to enhance the functioning of all the 10.1 centers. We currently have 20 10.1 centers, and we generate performance information on the centers, but the centers do not all have the same technology and systems in place. So we have 7 large centers for which we can generate performance information. And then the abandoned calls is one of the issues that we can generate in terms of performance information. The abandoned call basically means a call that the caller hangs up before the call is answered. And we allow, in our systems, we allow a specific period of seconds before we count a call as an abandoned call. So I think we can explain that in more detail in writing, because it's quite a complex issue of how we measure the different performance information of the 10.1 call centers. But there's abandoned calls, and then we also talk about the call answer rate and the handle ratio that speaks to when a call is answered and when a response is dispatched. So there's a series of performance information that we're beginning to generate as part of the project that we've implemented. I do want to say that as part of the initiative of this project with the 10.1, we have allocated 535 additional police members as call takers, because there was a decision to make the call takers at 10.1 centers SAPS members that have got police training. And we also then train the members when they start working at the call center. They receive training as well as in-service training at every call center, because the systems are slightly different. And with the addition of the 535 additional members to the call centers nationally, we have already seen improvement in the call handle ratio at the 10.1 centers for which we can generate performance information. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Lastly, we have questions around the open dockets that relates to the detectives as well as capacity building. We do have, I've seen Lieutenant General Sibia has since joined the meeting. I will then hand over to General Sibia to touch on this improvement plan that seeks to deal with these dockets and the down management thereof. General Sibiya, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, Chair and members of the Portfolio Committee and the Deputy Minister, Matali, colleagues. Chair, I must admit that there is a general concern in relation to the performance of the detectives. But a lot has been done in terms of making sure that we capacitate the detectives and we cover lost ground. As of now, I can inform the committee that the National Commissioner has given an instruction, of course, that the detectives be capacitated with 4,000 members during 2024-2025 financial year. And especially during the first intake, that consisted of 4,517 newly recruited members during January 2024 to December 2024. The detectives will be allocated the following totals. I'm specifying now in relation to the detectives. The detectives at station level will receive 1,719 detectives, and the detective service at the top 30 high crime stations will receive 196. And then as crime scene management will receive 300, and which makes a total of 2,515. We also have the detectives that during the second intake of 5,500 members, which is in February, which took place now in February 2025, the detectives will receive the numbers as follows. The detective station level will receive 1,375, and detective service at top 30 high crime station will receive 179, and this will also make the total of 1,854. And in relation to when will they be available, the detectives, these members will finalize their training during the December 2025, and their workplace training should be done by June 2026. But as we speak now, the detectives have received a number of detectives, and we are also busy, Chair, with prioritizing the detective capacitation in a sense that we're concentrating on 3 forms in making sure that we capacitate. Firstly, it is re-enlistment of the members, and the other one, it will be the contracting of all the former detectives that have been operating, and then also the proposed contracts where we sign contracts with the members that have left the service so that we can push the backlog. We are quite aware of the number of dockets that are outstanding for long, and we have identified that number, and what we're doing is that each and every month we send a specific number to the provinces. We've given them, all the provinces, the list of all outstanding dockets that we regard as a sort of a backlog or old cases. But what the provinces are doing, they're working on those cases and reporting back to us on a monthly basis. So we are monitoring the performance of the provinces in terms of addressing those numbers, especially the docket, in making sure that we don't manage all the cases that are long outstanding. We're quite aware that we do have, what we do is this exercise of docket age analysis that we conduct, and then thereafter, we will then specify to a particular province and say the following list must be addressed by this time. And this is what we do in making sure that the dockets are down managed, and also the detectives are fully capacitated. Lateral transfers, we have received a list of 1,000 that we must receive from the members that have been transferred laterally, and then the newly recruited, it will be 4,179, and this is how the detectives are being capacitated, Chair. And in relation to, I'm just trying to respond to those questions that I've noted, Chair. Yes, we are also quite aware that the people, our investigators are struggling in maintaining the database, in making sure that the database is updated on a daily basis. So we're monitoring that process as well to make sure that when dockets are closed, they are captured in such a way that the system will update. And this will assist the performance of the detective to improve, Chair. In relation to the dockets that are getting lost, we we do have a system where we can see that dockets are, let's say certain dockets are lost, and we normally open duplicate, but mostly even if a docket is lost, once a docket is open, it's captured in the system, and we are able to pull up the same information that was in the original docket. But we are also working hard in improving the storage facilities for the case dockets. And this we are working together with supply chain, making sure that we do have proper storage facilities where we can store the dockets. In relation to where dockets are being sold, cases are being opened where we identify those that are involved. We open cases and they're being investigated. Those that are found wanting, they get arrested and charged. But in relation to the people not maintaining the system, we are working on the system, Chair. I don't know if there's any other that I must still touch on, Chair, but I think in relation to capacitation, we have the numbers that we are working on, that we've received in the intake, and we've also allocated accordingly to the high-performing high crime stations, and also to detective station level, we make sure that we capacitate. And also we are managing this as a project where we looking for the resources. We have provided a project plan to the CFO to make sure that money is being made available so that this capacitation can be supported in such a way that the people that we are going to contract, there is already money that is being considered by the CFO to make available so that we are able to capacitate the detective. But we are well on course in making sure that they are fully capacitated, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I believe we have attempted to answer most of the questions. Should there be any question that is left behind, we'll gladly take it at round 2. Thank you, Chair.
In general, the only one for round 2 that I believe we've missed is the inaccuracy of the crime statistics. So please, can we prepare for that in round 2 for answers for the question by Honourable Carla Barnard. And then I'm going to hand over to Honourable Schikkeling, and then Honourable Mokoena, and then depending on the length of the questions, we'll go on to the next members, including Reverend Meshwe, Lozi, and Skosana. Honourable Schikkeling, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. On a point of order, Chairperson, I have to go to another committee meeting unless if I forgo my opportunity. Is it possible to prioritize my questions, please?
Honourable Meshwe, I'm comfortable with that. Honourable Schikkeling, is that okay with you?
I'm 100% covered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling. Reverend, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. The finding of inaccurate capturing of claims is a concern. Because when you look at the action that will be taken, it is standardized the recording process. I would like to know, before a stronger action is taken, rather than standardizing the recording process, when there is a tendency of capturing inaccurately, is there any other thing that happens or steps that are taken, or will we the next year or so still be talking about standardizing the recording process? And that's my first question. And the issue of inadequate maintenance of police station is a very serious one. You go to police stations, you find that for a month, sometimes even 2, toilets are not working. Now, what should be done to ensure that the corrective action is happening much sooner than that? Because it is embarrassing to hear police saying that the toilets have not been working for 2 months. It is very, very embarrassing, and it is wrong. You have people who are not taking effective and appropriate steps to ensure that there is no irregular expenditure. when a person does not do the right thing, they do not take appropriate steps when they know what those steps are. They don't take them to prevent irregular expenditure. What kind of sanction has to be imposed on such people so that they know that irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful expenditure cannot be tolerated? Because we talk about shortage of staff and yet money is being wasted by people who are not taking the appropriate steps that are known. So my question is, what further sanctions are taken when that is happening? Because to some, it looks like it becomes a habit. My next one is that the case docket management. When you have dockets, it has been said, that are continually lost. Do you find times when a person, a police, sold the docket, and what is essential for selling a docket? Because many of them have to do with the lives of the people. This has to be, definitely, this has to be stopped so that when a person opens a case, they know that their case is going to be taken seriously and dealt with accordingly. My last question has to do with managing of this 1 million open case dockets. And some of them are older than 2 years. Now, when a person has opened a case and for 2 years, the case is pending, nothing is happening, what kind of feedback does that person get? Does that person be left to wait, hoping that after 2 years something will happen? Or is there contact that is kept with that person to brief them of the progress, if there is any progress? Now, more detectives obviously are needed, and the employment concept proposal, I think it's a good idea. But now I see that one of the proposals is that whatever detective is brought on board, they should have a 1-year renewable contract. Now, is 1 year not too soon, too short? Because we know that there are cases that take more than a year to solve. So what do you do when a contract expires, but a person, that detective, did not finish the job that they were doing? Is there any flexibility when it comes to this length of a contract? Because taking a docket that is incomplete and giving it to another detective or another person might delay the process, because they may want to have background information and they restart the process. So I want to know whether this 1 year renewable contract is enough and fair for a person to do a great job when they are only given such a short time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Reverend. Honorable Schikkeling.
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Honorable Schikkeling, it seems it's the Parliament or the statue of Nelson Mandela speaking with us. We can't see you.
Chair, I don't know what's happening with the video. Let me
That's okay. I just thought I'd tell you, but you can go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. That's better, Chair.
You're upside down, but you're also welcome to go ahead.
Well, at least I'm here, Chair.
For the Industrial Revolution, dealing with her, Chair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's from Sona, you see. Go for it, Honorable Schikkeling. I'm going to keep quiet now.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, a lot has been said this morning, and I really do welcome the questions by my colleagues and then also the reply back from the police services. However, I go back to a lot has been said, and we all know that the confidence in the SAPS is very low at the moment, and that people going lack of confidence in the police. And I mean, the chances of something happening to you when you go and report a crime, either by being some form of corruption, or if you're a female, some form of assault, is high. We've all seen the videos on social media, and it's incredibly concerning because the very people that are supposed to be looking after us at this stage are the people that are involved with these crimes. And it makes all of us on this platform's job so much harder to make sure that we work hard and we can fix crime and the policing in South Africa. Because after all, Chair, we are a service and we're not rendering the service. And it is a concern. Chair, I am concerned about the 4,000 extra police detectives that we are going to onboard, because the second quarter expenditure report speaks about slow spending in detective services and crime intelligence, and it highlights a lack or a low vacancy, and there's vacancies of 2,099 detectives outstanding in the detective services. If we're going to add another 4,000, it means that effectively we have a shortage of 6,099 detectives that must be recruited. I would like to know by when they will be recruited and where will the funding be coming from? Because if you also look at the report, it speaks to literally billions and billions of rands that have been used irregularly. It's through, there's no management, there's mismanagement, financial mismanagement, through corruption. We all know what happened with the supply chain management in Philippines. It's something that we still have to get answers about. But there's a lack of accountability, and I don't know how we are going to fix that, Chair, because how do we employ 6,099 people if we do not have the money? We do have the money. It's just misappropriated and used on the wrong thing. So perhaps there should be a realignment of what our objectives are. I would like to know how we are going to fill that vacancy of 2,099. And then something, Chair, that's been spoken about a few times is the seasoned detectives that we would like to employ back into the police services. I agree that a year is not long enough. I've personally spoken to several high-ranking officials that will be retiring within the next 14 to 18 months. Nobody's consulted them to find out if they would like to stay on in the police services. They have so much institutional knowledge. Can you please tell me whether these officers that are in good standing, when they will be contacted to make sure that they would like to stay within the police services? They have so much knowledge, and I don't think we should be losing that at a stage. So when will this be done, and when will we capacitate the detective services, and when will these seasoned officers that have left the services be onboarded? Chair, that 5.4 million dockets that was closed due to evidence or lack of evidence, it's a shocking amount since 2018. But if you look at what's happening within the police services and our detective services, it directly speaks to why these dockets are being closed, because we do not have the capacity. So we need to make sure that we do this. Obviously, there's a lack. How are we going to fix it? Chair, then firearm licenses. It really is a problem. Firearm licenses are not being issued within the 120 days, as they've said. I asked a parliamentary question on the 31st of October last year, and I was informed that there's over 12,000 firearm licenses that are still outstanding. I know specifically of people in Gordons Bay Police Station that have been going back for the last 3 years, and the answer that the applicants cannot be traced is not good enough, because they physically go to the police station themselves to go and find out what's happening with their firearms. So surely there must be some feedback on this. I'd like to know when this backlog of outstanding firearm licenses will be cleared, please, because it's very unnecessary that people have to wait so long for a firearm license, Chair. And then the supply chain management, as I've spoken about, really is a concern. I mean, Philippi highlighted it that there's a huge problem with supply chain and corruption with buying items and things. So how are we going to stop this? There's a lot of measures that have been put in place by the police, and we can put as many measures in place, but if there's no accountability and implementation, Chair, then nothing will change. So we have to have clear, tangible outcomes with timelines by when things will be done, and we need to have that as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling. Honourable Mokoena.
Thank you, Chair. Supply chain management reflects the greatest number of findings during audit. Why is this the case? Under which category? And what is the process of approval for procurement? Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Mokoena, you know, I always appreciate the fact that you keep your questions so brief. You are by far the winner with regards to brief questions. Over to Honourable Bloze from the EFF.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think in the interest of time, I'm also going to try and mirror the last honourable member. But look, Chair, I think my greatest concern. Oh no, wait, my video is not on. Oh, there you go. All right. No, thanks, Chair. I think my greatest concern really is in the quality of the investigations, or the quality in terms of the consequences of what it's being presented to us. I mean, we need to move on a view or on a perception that these AG's findings or recommendations are not taken as a tick box exercise. We ought to see tangible consequences that should be done. Because if you say to us that investigations has been done, consequence management has been done as the recommendations of the AG, but no one has been dismissed for wrongdoing, no money has been recovered. For us, that just is a cosmetic exercise. So we must really start to look at how entities and departments really implement AG's recommendations. We must be able to investigate the quality of the implementation of those recommendations. So again, I'm really not impressed, because what is being presented to us here is system failures. You know, of course, they ought to be, you know, stringent measures that are put to make sure that our systems are capacitated, they're updated, and they speak to the current realities that the South African police services are facing. But what about the people that are behind the systems? What about the people who are actually managing all of those things? And we don't hear anything about that. So I'm really not really impressed in terms of what is being presented to us. And I hope that we get to hear more about real tangible consequence management, where money has been lost, where financial mismanagement has been done, where at procurement SAPS has lost money, and all of that, to say these were the people who were presiding over those procurement processes, and this is what has happened to person A, person B, and person C. So for me, I'm not really sure that I have a specific question, but I really think, Chair, that's part of maybe as a committee, when we speak internally, maybe in one of our stretch sessions, we must be able to dig deeper, investigate, to say that when the AG comes up and presents findings and tell us this is what the SAPS must do in order to correct themselves, we must be able then to say, how then do we investigate, or how then do we check to see that SAPS is really doing what the AG is requiring of them, and they're not just doing or they're not just implementing this recommendation just to tick the box, just to say, no, the AG has given us these findings, therefore this is what we've done, tick, 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 and then we move on like that. As long as people are not arrested, as long as people are not fired, as long as money is not recovered, it's really fruitless. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. Then lastly, Honourable Skosana, and then we will do the last round of answers before we move on to the next presentation. We still have 2 presentations and 2 question and answer sessions to go through. Honourable Skosana, over to you. Honourable Skosana, are you there? Honorable Skosana, we'll come back to you on the next round. General Dempane, can we hand over to you in terms of questions and answers?
Thank you, Chair. We will start with the one that we left behind, the reliability of our crime stats. I've noted Major General Spoon is in the meeting. I will give him that question to respond. Perhaps let me start at the back in terms of Reverend Meshwe's questions. I want to assure this committee that as a department, there are things that we have very little appetite. The issues of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, Chair, we recover. Where we have done an investigation and determined liability that this particular individual was responsible for this wastage, we go after that particular person and we recover that money. Those are straightforward cases. We do have committees in place in provinces that we interact, and during our accountability sessions where we then hold each other to account, where the determination says so and so was negligent and wasted state money, we go after that person and we recover. The irregular expenditure ones, General Fani will touch on them. Those are the cases that normally takes a little bit of time. This would have been expenditure that was done outside procurement processes. Investigations are conducted. Many a times we do not come across a case where there was actually a loss, but General Fani will elaborate in terms of the measures that he has put in place to deal with this. There are old cases where indeed people were taken through the process and they were found to have been guilty. Those people were dismissed in this particular regard. But in terms of the previous financial year, General Fani will elaborate. I think he had touched on the issues of inadequate maintenance of police stations. He can also add if there's any other extra information that is there. Case docket management, the issues of what is the sanction if somebody is found to have sold a docket. General Sibia did indicate that an investigation is launched, and if the person is found to be guilty, the person goes to jail. It's as simple as that, because we cannot tolerate that is corruption in this regard. But the General Sibia will also emphasize in terms of the issue of the 1 million open dockets, what we do with the feedback to clients, as well as the contract project that you want to do. That particular project, the intention is that we will contract the former detectives or detectives on contract to come and assist us with this backlog. And then we assess before that particular contract, the 1-year contract, comes to an end. Should there be a need for us to be able to renew that contract, we will then embark on that particular contract. We will assess progress that would have been made within 12 months of that contract that we would have signed or assigned to those detectives. It is flexible. Should there be a need to then renew that contract, we will renew that particular contract. Honorable Sheikh Leng spoke about the issues of confidence in terms of the police and the 4,000 detectives. General Sibia did indicate that the 4,000, most of them are currently at police stations doing their workplace activities, and we envisage that by December they will then be taking up their positions. Yes, indeed, we do have shortages when it comes to issues of funding. What we then do in consultation and guidance from the Executive Authority Accounting Officer, we then prioritize. We have a prioritization exercise when it comes to our HR priorities. The detectives is currently on top of the list. We then deal with issues of reprioritization and finding money to ensure that we deal with this. So the detectives are currently on top of our priority in this regard. The ones that are going on pension, we do have a process that allows application for deferments. There are those applications that we normally receive from those that are due for pension, where they would want us to then consider extending their stay in the police. Those applications, there is a process that is allowed in terms of our employment regulations. They go through the process. When it comes to the detectives, if it is determined that indeed this is a scarce skill, we take that application through. So members are allowed to then apply. If it happens that they are outside, they have gone on retirement, we then have a re-enlistment process where we then advertise as well, and they are free to apply and come back to the police to come and assist us in this regard. There are issues on firearm licenses. General Pinar will then also assist the committee in terms of the response in that regard. General Fani will touch on the procurement from Honorable Mukwena. And then, Honorable Blosse, we can give you comfort that This post-audit action plan is not a tick box exercise. We have gone out immediately after the final report is issued. This is an exercise that we do almost every year. We do a root cause analysis. What is causing these particular findings? And our actions are put in place to address those particular root causes. Should we find that indeed here there was negligence, we take the relevant people through in this regard. So we can give assurance to the committee that this post-audit action plan, we will see the results or the effectiveness of this post-audit action plan when it comes to the outcome of the audit. We started this exercise in 2019. You will recall that before then, we were struggling, we were being qualified or getting a qualification as a department. Since we have embarked on this exercise of a post-audit action plan, we have seen an improvements to this end. For the past 4 years, we have received an unqualified audit opinion when it comes to the financial statements. There is improvement. We just need to tighten our grip when it comes to issues or findings within the performance information as well as compliance, so that we move towards attaining a clean audit as an organization. So, Chair, if you allow, I will then request General Ramranatswai to talk this inaccurate capturing of claims. These are civil claims. These are the activities that takes place at provincial as well as station level. And we do have measures in place to deal with such. She will be followed by General Fani, and then followed by General Pinar in terms of the firearm licenses. And let me start with General Sikukuni in terms of the reliability of crime stats in this regard. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, General Limbani and the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. As a disclaimer, I just crashed into the meeting, but then that being said, I guess that when the time comes for me to respond to the question, I believe that the question from Honorable Kalabanat emanated from the issue of the missing dockets that might lead to the inaccuracies in the crime statistics. If I heard that correctly, my response is that once the docket has been captured onto the subsystem, the crime statistics is then drawn from the SAP 6 to extract the information that is going to be used for the compilation of the crime statistics. So whether the hard copy docket get lost or whatever, as long as it has been captured in the system, we will then be in a position to extract that information for the purposes of compiling for crime statistics. But that being said, what we are also doing from the crime register as a component, we also have a section called Quality Assurance and Help Desk. The section that is called Quality Assurance and Help Desk, together with the CIMIC members in the police station, we normally conduct quality assurance on a daily basis on the registration of crimes, looking at the counts, the total number of counts that had been registered in terms of the crime counting rules, the correct classification of the crimes, and we also do standards whereby we compute error rates in terms of incorrect registration, incorrect classification, and also incorrect counting of the crime rules. Then once that it has been done, we then compile a quality assurance report, which we then share with Status A together with the source data. And then the Status A will compile what is called a data quality assurance team, which will go through all the systems information that we have captured and all the quality checks that we have undertaken. And then they will then give us a rating whereby it will either start from 1, which is poor, and up to 4. And in all the engagement that we have had with Status A, we have always achieved the rating of 4, which is quality official statistics. And I dare mention that I think we are only one of less than 5 departments which undergo this process of data quality assurance through the South African Statistical Quality Assessment Framework, which has obtained what is official statistics in line with the SASCAF and declared as such by the Statistician General. Thank you.
I just want to quickly ask Honorable Kola Barnard. She just wants to mention or ask questions regarding clarity. Honorable Kola Barnard.
Yeah, I was referring to the actual report, which said about performance reporting deficiencies, and it said inaccuracy in reported performance for the visible policing program and detective services program, particularly regarding crime statistics and operational targets. So it was very specific. It did not say that perhaps it related to missing dockets. That is what the Auditor General stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kola Barnard. Back to you, General.
Chair, can I give that response to Major General Rabi in this regard?
Thank you.
Chairperson, thank you. It is correct that in terms of the audit findings, they found that there is inaccuracy in terms of certain detail that might affect the statistics that we are including in the annual report or in quarterly reporting. For instance, if detail is incorrectly captured in terms of the age of the victims or the gender of the victims, that might have an effect on crimes reported against women and children. And if there's an inaccurate count of crimes that has been recorded or reported on a docket, or there might be an over or under count in terms of the number of charges that needs to be recorded. So those findings have been made. And as a result of that, at this point in time, it is not possible to give 100% assurance in terms of the data that we include on in our reporting processes, that is 100% accurate, unless we get to a point where no findings have been made in this regard. The auditors works on before something gets material or material in nature. In terms of the findings that has been made, they work with an error rate of 5%. So anything below 5% will be regarded as acceptable in terms of the number of findings that has been made. But at this point in time, the current findings that has been made will definitely affect the statistics that we report on. And around about 50%, Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson, of the activities in the post-audit action plan on performance information works around the accuracy of data on crime. And the detailed actions have been identified for implementation, not only in terms of registration, but also in terms of control measures that must be implemented after registration as the docket goes through the various phases of investigation. That includes when the docket is transferred to your investigative capability and then transferred to your investigator. So yes, at this, I want to conclude by saying at this point in time, the measures have been implemented. We have noted, Chairperson, that there is an improvement in the number of findings that are made in this regard. And our target at this point is then to have that below 5% so that it's not material in nature going forward. I hope that is answering the question. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
General Jampani.
I will hand over to General Sibia just to wrap up on the case docket management, the issues of the losses, as well as we give feedback to the clients in terms of open dockets. General Sibia.
Thank you very much, Chair. What one can actually say in relation to case docket management, Chair, we conduct inspections on a monthly basis. And we also monitor the cases. When a docket is lost or it is found that you sold a docket, that is a criminal offense, and you get investigated and dealt with accordingly. There's a disciplinary proceedings, and we also have statistics in relation to those that have been fired already for being involved in crime, this type of crimes. And at the same time, if a docket is long outstanding, not necessarily 2 years, because there's no prescription that says a docket should be investigated within 2 years. Now, we classified some of those dockets that we think these dockets should have been handled and finalized within this period of 2 years, because it's a simple assault common case or maybe criminal injury. But why are you still in possession of this docket that should have been closed long time ago? But what happens is that the system is automated in such a way that every now and then, as a complainant, you do get feedback as an SMS that update you. But at the same time, the detectives are trained that within 14 days, and mostly they may not be complying with 14 days, but they do provide feedback to the complainants. And the other thing is that what do you do when 1 year expires? Okay, the CFO have already responded to that one of what do we do when after 1 year, but it is between 1 and 2 years. But we're also doing it in such a way that people don't come and relax and push years again. It is for a specific project that they come in to finalize the backlog, and we're also monitoring in such a way that they push that backlog and not sit on it to just put service again. So we carefully and make sure that we monitor the work and the workload that is going to be allocated to them so that they finalize within. So within a year, we take it that you must have done the work that you've been allocated to. If you are not able to finish or complete, another 1 year will also be extended to you. Seasoned detective, is not enough. Yes, we do admit, but Chair, as I have already explained. And then what else haven't I responded to? I think I've covered everything so far. Chair, that those that have been found wanting, they get fired. And that's all from my side.
Thank you, Chair. We then want to deal with the question of inaccurate capturing of claims. This relates to the civil claims. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General.
Thank you very much, Chair. With regard to the question of Honorable Mishwe, the inaccurate capturing of claims, we have made an analysis to identify what is the challenge. And one of the challenges is that there was inconsistency in how claims are being captured at the provincial level due to the movement of personnel within the division. So there was no consistency in ensuring that new personnel are being trained. So as measures to address this, we have come up with a measure to enhance the loss control system to ensure data integrity, and then to ensure that there are reviewers that are there to ensure that whatever has been captured is being reviewed by double checking what is in the file is in line with what is captured on the system. And then lastly, Chair, we are also providing training to train all the provinces that are dealing with the loss control system with new measures that are being introduced on the enhancement of the loss control system, and to standardize the manner in which we are capturing the claims on the system, so that we start with the issue around consequence management. At least from our side, we have provided training and we have capacitated our members in terms of how we deal with the capturing of civil claims on the loss control system. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. We have two last ones that we would want to address. There was a question on firearm licenses. I would request Major General Pinar to touch on it. Immediately, she will be followed by the last one from General Fani, who will address the procurement question from Honorable Mokoena, as well as issues of inadequate maintenance of police stations. Major General Pinar.
Thank you, General, and thank you, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, for the opportunity. On the firearm license applications, we do currently have 107,532 license applications on that we're busy with. That includes applications for competencies, individual licenses, and business licenses. We measure the performance in terms of the 120 days. So for the third quarter, We did deal with all the applications we received within the 120 days. But yes, we do have a backlog of 12,633 from the previous quarters that the team at Central Farm Register is working on. They've got a team that specifically focuses on the backlog and trying to deal with outstanding license applications. In order to deal with the competency certificates, we must have from the Criminal Record Centre fingerprint reports, and some of them we then have to resend because they changed the system and there may be some challenges with the scanning and the connections with the crim session. So we are monitoring that backlog every week and getting feedback every week so that we can show that we are decreasing the backlog. And then by the end of the next quarter, we would be able to deal with the end of that backlog. But for the third quarter, I just want to emphasize, we actually managed to deal with all the applications we received in the 120 days. Thank you, General. Thank you.
Chair, I am made aware that the National Commissioner has since joined the meeting. Chair, as I hand over to the National Commissioner, we have the last response from General Fanny in this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe one of the things that I need to mention, Chair, is that irregular expenditure does not necessarily mean that money was not spent correctly, does not necessarily mean that there was a loss. We do have irregular expenditure framework published by the National Treasury that we are using to do the determination. And once the determination is done, we do the cost benefits to check whether in the process of procuring the goods and the services under this irregular transaction, has the organization benefited from the costs. I must indicate that in all the transactions where the determination was done and the cost benefit has been assigned to it, we are doing well in terms of the South African Police Service. Where there has been money where there were no cost benefits, we do invoke our internal processes for recovery, which General Dimpane has already alluded to. I just want to indicate that we have not misappropriated the money in the South African Police Service under the irregular expenditure, because the determination test determined that in most instances we have benefited as the organization. The bulk of the challenges that we've got with regards to irregular expenditure, Chair, is administrative issues. When I say administrative issues, I'm talking something such as where the tender was supposed to have been advertised on e-tender for 21 days, but the e-tender was down, and when the auditors come in, they pick up that we've only advertised for 19, 18 days. In terms of the Treasury regulations, it would then be seen as non-compliance to regulations, because we may be seen not to have advertised the tender for more than 21 days, but we would not have been able to do that because the e-tender system was down. However, we lacked in such instances a track or a trail of evidence in terms of where we wanted to publish, but the system was down. We did not download the message that we got from e-tender, neither did we send an email to National Treasury to indicate to them that the e-tender system is down. The tender would have been adjudicated and awarded appropriately, but because of not having advertised it for the required 21 days, it would be deemed to be irregular. There's instances that we are picking up of that nature. The other example I could make is where in the quotation process, where we have most of our irregular expenditure, where we evaluate the quotation on BEE and price, but the evidence for allocation of points on BEE is not on 5, and therefore that transaction is deemed to be irregular. Those administrative issues emanate from lack of understanding from some of the officials in our system. What we have done, Chair, to eliminate these, we have had a compilation of a comprehensive checklist that indicates at the quotation base what are the things that needs to be confirmed and what is the source document that needs to go on file as an evidence for having done something. And if there are any deviations, we need to be alerted so that we can advise accordingly. We are doing road shows as well in terms of what are the other processes that must be invoked in other instances for a deviation process, for procurement using other means, which are some of the things that were not clearly understood. We are hoping that we would not have recurrence of such issues in our procurement processes. This checklist that we have developed is comprehensive enough to eliminate most of these things that we are having. We also would love to have a procurement IT system that assists us with submission of tenders and how we can manage the tendering process in a system so that we do not miss anything in the value chain with regards to our tender processes and with regards to our quotation processes. However, we are unable to procure because of IFMS. We are in discussions with National Treasury via our TMS to ensure that we get an exemption and implement an IT system that will assist us with our procurement at this current moment. We used to have a system that we're using that assisted us greatly on the quotation side. That was the Intender suite. Apologies for mentioning the product, but that is the product that we're using at the time. There are other similar products. However, we are unable to use it, waiting for the IFMS to provide us with a system, but we are looking at invoking the exemption processes to get our own system. Where we have detected issues of deliberate misconduct in the procurement processes, we invoke our disciplinary processes and we take the whole matter through the disciplinary process. And in some instances, we invoke both internal disciplinary process and we do open a case where we will criminally pursue anyone, whether employees or suppliers, where there has been issues of inappropriate issues that were done in the procurement process. We are confident that our PAP system allows us the opportunity to self-reflect and self-renew when we pick up issues that are repeating in nature. We are dealing with them from that PAP system. It has been an effective system that is implemented in SAPS, and we are reaping benefits with regards to that. I must indicate of the 15, majority of those are in the quotation process, which is a decentralized process, and we are trying to make sure from a central point of view, we are advising the provinces and the division on how to effectively manage the quotation process. And I must also indicate that the findings that we have in our out of the Auditor General's are mainly low value and low impact, but they are still unacceptable because it is a deviation or departure from a legal prescript, which we should not have to depart from unless we have an exemption with regards to that. We do have our own policy internally that governs how we do procurement. Therefore, we have a sound process. It was tested and vetted by the AGSA to be sound and adequate for us to have sound procurement processes within our procurement environment. There was a question that was asked in terms of, do we have controls? Yes, we do have controls. We do have a 3-tier system in our procurement environment where we've got the bid specification committee in line with the legal prescript. We've got the BEC and the BAC. In some instances, we do invoke internal audit before the award of the tender to do probity audits on some of the big high value and high sensitive, high impact processes. And in some instances, the accounting officer will then exercise his authority in terms of the PFMA and sanction the approval or the non-approval of a certain procurement process. We are putting an emphasis, Chair, on our quotation process to make sure that we minimize these audit findings that we have. As I've indicated, the disciplinary processes are invoked where there are gross negligence in terms of the applicable framework for procurement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, General. I just want to check, General Masemola, would you like to add anything before we continue?
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson and members. Just to add that on irregular expenditure, Honorable Chair, we do take, and wasteful expenditure, we do take steps where members did falter. There are areas where provinces go as far as making the responsible officials pay, for example, where they put a wrong fuel deliberately in a vehicle, let's say petrol and diesel, or where they pay licenses for vehicles very late. So actions are being taken. We do have senior officers that has been taken on task on matters of irregular and wasteful expenditures, and we definitely do take action. Chairperson, members, on the 4,000 detectives, General CB, I think he did explain it. However, it is on that score that we want to increase the number of detectives. Hence, we have this project 4,000, and for this coming financial year, we are going to focus on the resources for the same members, so that as and when they come, we already have resources. I think we explained how they come, because some have already started workplace exposure, which means by June they will be there. Some will come at the end of this year, some will come next year. So we think that will boost quite a number of our detectives. And on seasoned detectives, well, all members that reach the age of pensionable age, those that are still willing to work, the opportunity is there, we open it for an extension. Or either you go on pension later, yes, we can contract it. And the contract, it's not to say it's fixed for 1 year, it can renew as long as the budget is there and the performance is also there. But of course, when it comes to deferment or extension over the age of 60, we don't extend for people that have not been performing, or they've not been working regularly. So those are the things that we take into account when we look at the renewal of contract for contract workers. I think otherwise most of the questions has been answered. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, General. Colleagues, I am going to go over to our next presentation. For the sake of time, if it's okay with the members, I would like to ask whether we can skip our short break. I did give extra time for this discussion. I believe it's very important. And again, remember, as I always say, if there are specific details you would like us to formally follow up, communicate with me or Babalwa or Nicolette, and let's assist with that and do the necessary. I'm going to hand over to the Psira team for the briefing on the internal audit and all the same that we've just discussed with SAPS from a Psira point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Before we allow them, I just wanted to put through this just to emphasize this point, Chair, that we share the sentiments that the committee has, but I think the committee should appreciate the fact that there have been great improvement. Of course, the challenges that we are confronted with is immense, and it's understandable the concerns that committee members have. But if you look at where we come from, 2018, 2019, and the changes that have taken place between 2020 and to date, there is a marked improvement. Even if you look at the audit outcome now and the audit outcome of the previous financial year, there is improvement. Of course, we want to have a clean outcome, Chair, and we are working towards that. I just thought members should understand that we really do take the audit outcome very serious, and the plans we are putting in place to improve. It's an indication of that commitment from the department. But thank you very much, Chair. Through you, may we allow Psira to proceed. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, DM. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, and the members of the committee. Good morning also to our Deputy Minister, DM Matale. I am Leah Shibambo. I am the Chairperson of the Psira Council. I would like just to introduce our team that will be that is present in the meeting today. I have got Mr. Nkume Musekwa. Mr. Musekwa is the chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee. Within the management, you have already heard the apology from the director. So acting director, it's Ms. Matlo Sibokhodi, who is actually the financial officer, CFO. And then the deputy director for law enforcement, Ms. Talent Zwane. The acting chief operations officer is Mr. Isaac Ralioma. Ms. Mposi Chwaro is the deputy director responsible for communications and training. And then our corporate secretary, Mr. Jacob Makholwane, is also in the meeting. Then from the internal audit, we have Ms. Lindiwe Nkosi. She is with Samba Solutions. Chairperson, with your permission, our presentation will be done by the acting director of the authority, which is Ms. Matlo Sibokhodi. We can hand over to her. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Deputy Minister, and all protocol observed. Our presentation today will be focusing on the audit action plan and what we have done to date to ensure that we come out of the qualification. And the next slide was not moving. My slide is not moving. I'm trying to move it. The next slide, it's the slide in front of us, we're just indicating our previous audit outcome. In the previous 3 years, we've been going up and down. The previous year, we were qualified on the issue of the contract management, and in this current financial year, the one that we are preparing the audit action plan, the issue here, mainly it was migration of from the old billing system to the new system. And maybe just to touch on this slide, you've noticed that we have an irregular expenditure. It's not a new irregular expenditure. It's the one that was, it's a contract that it's running for a few years. It's the one from UIF. And also just to give confidence to the members that we have a fraud section and loss control where they do investigation of irregular expenditure, and also they pronounce on internal control deficiencies and also consequence management. So on this one, we have not incurred any new irregular expenditure, but because of the contract, it's still going on, it will still persist. And also in terms of fruitless and wasteful, for this year that was audited, we have had small fruitless and wasteful, not significant penalties, fines, and non-payment, but we also intensified controls to ensure that there is no new fruitless. In this current year, as at to date, we don't have a fruitless and wasteful expenditure on our register. So we have managed to put internal controls. We're hoping that in the next 3 months, it will still remain in the way it is. And then on the one of qualified opinion, we will still, in the next slide, I'll just unpack what we have done in detail, and also in terms of material irregularities and impairments. Impairment is relates to our debtors where our industry is unable to settle the payments as they're due, and we impair a lot of them, and it affects our financial position. And then in this slide, we are just indicating the status to date on what we have done. And we just thought we should also indicate the significant findings there. So in all the action plans in terms of finance, we have implemented 7, and out of 9, 2 are still outstanding. And the 2 that are still outstanding, it's the interim audit of the interim financial statements. And also we wanted to have an in-depth audit by an external service provider. We had a challenge with our the previous audit that was appointed in the beginning of the financial year. We had to let them go because we felt that they are not adding value to the audit. But since then, we had appointed a new internal audit company starting from December in the last financial year. But they have made a stride. They've audited the interim financial statement, and management will consider it in the next EXCO, and the findings or the outcome will be presented in the next oversight committee, the FinCo, and also the council. And then under legal, it was only 1 in terms of policies. And then BIT, we have managed to resolve all of them, except 1 that relates to SIM, which is Security Incident Event Management System, where it was recommended, as the chairperson indicated earlier, that the recommendation of the AG, it's not, they are mandatory. So we had to start procuring the SIM, and it will be presented in the next council meeting for approval. We have finalized the procurement process. We're waiting for the council in March to present the final BAC report. So in terms of the MI, we have 2 actions that are still outstanding, the forensic investigation and also the MIC SETA, but I'll just detail them when we have a dedicated slide for the MI. So in this slide, we are indicating the findings. So we had the findings that relates to the cash flow, but maybe just 2 because they are pervasive. So one finding leads to another. Maybe let me just give the context because it looks like a repetition of other things, but one mistake causes a lot of errors in the financial statement. So during our migration, when we moved from the previous online and billing system, we had issues with the take-on balances. So our opening balance did not tally, even the balances that in the year were not tallying. So the system did not read or take the balances it was supposed to be taken. So we had an issue with our cash flow because our revenue was incorrect, and also the disclosure. So every year we should impair. You can imagine when you impair wrong things because the balances that you've put in are incorrect. And also the debtors collection, we have a steering committee that considers write-off suspension. The feeding of the steering committee was also not adequate because of the errors there. And also the revenue was also not was overstated. So there was a lot of issues coming from debtors that affected the whole income financial statement. And also we had issues in terms of our disclosure note where we had errors, and then we did not present to clarify to the user. So one of the key issues that we learned from the audit, that if you have errors in the last year, if there is a restatement or prior period error, and every note that is been affected, we should detail for the user to ensure that they understand the prior period and the effect of each note that was affected. So so what we have done on that, we have ensured that the GRAP checklist and the GRAP refresher training for all annual financial statement preparers, they go to a refresher course, and we also now participate in accounting standard board workshops where they also emphasizes how the financial statement has to be presented, because once you have a qualification, once you have a prior period error, it affects a lot of things, and we were unable to comply with the GRAP standards. But what we have done, we have went back to February 2022 to ensure that the take-on balances are correct. We configured the system to ensure that it can pull out, and we've checked individual transactions to ensure that all the debtors and all the accounts are correct. And we also ensured that the Psira and Pastel can talk to each other without requiring manual intervention. And we've also prepared an interim financial statement. And the interim financial statement will be looked into by the internal audit firm. And then we also, we are busy talking to the AG. They are on board. They started to look for requesting for information with the aim to review our interim financial statement to ensure that when we reach the regulatory audit in May, we don't have issues, and all matters that affected the audit opinion have been cleared. And also additionally, we have added capacity in finance and SCM to ensure that we have, because we realize that some control have to be emphasized on daily basis and monitored on regular basis. So hence we have capacitated finance and SCM to ensure that the month end and the cut off and the daily processing is done adequately. And then also in terms of the disclosure note, and this one I've already spoken about, it's a matter of presentation. So we had an issue of related party relationship where we referred to, we have relationship with entities of the ministry, but in terms of the AG, they said we must list all of them. And also in differences in budget amounts, this is when we had an adjustment budget, but in terms of the presentation, we have not explained what the how have we adjusted. So it was mainly for the user to be able to understand the presentation of budget amounts, and also because your initial amounts are not correct, then your explanation will not tally with what the AG wants. So there was an issue there, but we have learned from that. We've got a budget steering committee, and then we look into this narration on quarterly basis to ensure that recommendation from the AG are addressed. And also in terms of the related party items, this is mainly an error that happened where the member of the committee was paid as a supplier, but unfortunately when we did reconciliation, hence I said that we've intensified controls to ensure that even the daily transaction are monitored, because it was omitted and recorded as a supplier while it was supposed to be in the related party transaction. And then once you have that one, then you'll have a finding where you have completeness of related party. And also on this one, in terms of the system, the work in progress, our system, we reported it as work in progress, but unfortunately when the AG was assessing it, it was not agreed that it's work in progress. It was supposed to be regarded as intangible asset, as one that is completed. And here, that on the issue of lease liability, it's one lease that was not accounted correctly in terms of the straight lining, but we have ensured that these are things that are done on quarterly basis and are reviewed to ensure that such errors are not coming back to haunt us. But what we have done, we have intensified controls. What we have done, we review disclosures on quarterly basis, and we know that we're not preparing a financial statement on quarterly basis, but we use the template for annual financial statement to monitor and ensure that the people that are going to prepare it at the end and are ready and able to do it on regular basis and check it without waiting for the 12 months. So we do it on quarterly basis. This one I've already spoken about, that we have a GRAP and PFMA refresher course, and we also intensified control in terms of implementation of GRAP checklist, and also through our combined assurance, internal audit, finance and investment committee, audit committee, and the council. They are really monitoring us in ensuring that we implement and eliminate the root causes of that was flagged in terms of the audit findings. And this one I've already spoken about, that we have capacitated our finance and SCM. And in terms of material irregularity, we the process of forensic, it's almost at the end. The struggle here, it was the forensic investigator felt that it's us who are supporting. He needed to speak to the service provider, and finally last year December they were able to meet, and then I think they have a last meeting next week, and because he wanted to have both sides of the story, not only Psira. And one another thing that Psira has now done, because one of the issue in terms of material irregularity, it's when the user or the public is suffering, and because of the administration of the project. But what we have done, we have said that we are now accessing the POE, because the learners are now not being accredited because the processes of MI-CETA are not complied with. But the project team at Psira is now collecting the POEs, and then we are now speaking with MI-CETA to ensure that the learners get what is due for them, and they will be accredited. I think this project will be ending by, but we don't have a control of MI-CETA certification, but the submission of the POE to MI-CETA will be submitting by end of April. So the collection, we have collected plus minus 4,000 MI-CETA POEs, and we will be talking to MI-CETA to ensure that the learners get what is due for them. And then in terms of, remember this contract comes from UIF, but what we have done, we have now intensified our SCM processes to ensure that because this contract was ceded to us and we thought everything was done adequately. So, and it was now an irregular expenditure, hence our irregular expenditure, it still have like the years as irregular expenditure there. But what we have done, we've intensified our controls in terms of SCM processes. We also made sure that any contract, we perform a due diligence to ensure that all other compliance issues are addressed before we take on. And in terms of the project management, we also developed a risk register to ensure that all risks that might come, we are able to mitigate them to an extent, rather than reaching the issue of where non-compliance or material irregularities. But in terms of that, and in terms of forensic investigation, it will be finalized by end. Once they've met with the supplier, they would give us the final report. And then what we have done to date, we have opened a criminal case, and after the collation of the POEs, we will open a civil law process to ensure that the service provider is liable for all outstanding deliverables and in terms of the SLA. And what we intend to do, or what we are aiming to do to ensure that we our financial statement go back to a clean financial statement. We are reviewing compliance checklists and monitor effectiveness of internal control. But what we are doing here, Chairperson, we are now having those month-end checklists, and also we are also looking at items that might affect us negatively. For an example, deviations register. Yes, deviations are accepted, but it's a high risk to be converted to irregular. So this is one of the key things that is audited by internal audit before the final preparation of the financial statement, also to test whether all the deviations in the register are in compliance with the SEM prescript. And also what we are also doing in terms of ensuring that our capacity, training and capacity, we also ensuring that we have an in-house training where people are taken through the processes. For an example, in terms of the asset management, so you will take a new appointee and empower that person, and then also discussion in terms of GRAP implementation. And also one of the key things that we are happy to announce, maybe Chairperson, that in terms of our oversight structure, they are very robust, and they ensure that we comply with prescripts. And the issues that are raised by the AG, they are making sure that we implement, and controls that are questionable, they take us back to enhance those controls, because they would want us to move back to a clean audit. And what we are saying in terms of regular audits, in terms of high risk area, we also aligned our internal audit plan to ensure that it covers those areas. And then we also requested the AG to look at all those high-risk areas, which is debtors, revenue recognition, and presentation. And in terms of GRAP checklist, our internal audit have already looked into it, and they will be presenting the report to the oversight structures. And also in terms of enhancing Psira and pastoral system, what we have noted as a root cause here, because there was data integrity that was not done adequately. So we have done correction, we have configured the system, and we also ensured that controls to access the information, it's also enhanced, and also speaking to the systems speaking to each other. And also the other one where we have, I've already spoken about this, maintaining it over a daily and monthly processing and reconciliation of transaction. This is one of the key things that we noted, that some emphasis need to be made, because at some stage when people are if the standard operating procedure, it's not indicating that you should do this daily. For an example, there's a difference where there's a finding in terms of accrual and trade payables. So there's a timing issue, and it can be eliminated when a person has opened his email or her email on time. So those were the issues that we had a workshop of finance people, where we indicated that commitment and doing what is required at the right time, without because small things cost us a lot. So we've already done our interim financial statement, and we also want assurance from, hence we want it to be audited, because we want to give our oversight structures assurance that we have addressed all the finding adequately. And also one of the key things that was not tabled on this. We have internal audit and external audit that monitors this on quarterly basis, and all matters that have affected the audit, and also the ones that have potential to affect the next audit opinion. We've been assisted or coached back to ensure that we have adequate measures or present the issues adequately so that they are not subject to different interpretations. So those are the controls that we really appreciate from our oversight structure, Chairperson. But we are confident that in this financial year, we will be able to improve the financial, our opinion, because we have implemented and intensified controls. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. Colleagues, I'm going to open up for questions. I've noted Honourable Kola Barnard. Honourable Kola Barnard, you are extremely quick. So I've noted you. Are there any other comments or questions? Honourable Schikkerling. Then are there any more? Not yet. If it does come up, just put up your hand and I'll give you an opportunity. Honourable Kola Barnard, let's start with you.
Thank you. Just one or two. Look, it's very sad to see a regression to a qualified audit opinion, especially in terms of irrecoverable losses on trade receivables of 14.2 million. That's 14.2 million you just can't afford. The AG defined that after all these years, you did not prepare your financial statements in accordance with the required framework. Please explain, how is that even vaguely possible? And again, you failed to collect all the revenue due to you. That has been the major problem for Psira for as many years as I care to remember. Again, it does nothing for me to hear that there's a plan to fix this. There's a plan to fix this because it just never seems to be fixed. There's got to be somebody who's responsible for these things, and why aren't they doing the job? Now, finally, there were significant internal control issues regarding a contract with a supplier for end-user computer skills training, where you made advance payments of 56.6 million, but the services were never delivered. Now, what on earth is happening there? Who was behind the hiring of this firm? Who paid the firm in advance, and who's been fired because of this? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Kola Barnard. Honourable Schikkerling.
Thank you, Chair. I think I've been basically covered. I just also would like to know, how is it possible that we make advance payments of such a huge amount of money? Surely there must be controls in place to ensure that we don't pay for things before we've received it. And then just from my side, Chair, Psira plays a very important part in keeping South Africa safe. And I think that it's really, we would like to commend them for their work and thank them, but there is still a lot that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkerling. Back over to the Psira team.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of irrecoverable debts, yes, we note that the model that we are using, the annual fees, it's inequitable, and it always causes us to have irrecoverable debt because it mandates that once you are a service provider, whether you have been active, you have to pay us annual fees. But we have now adjusted or amended our annual fee, where we have now looked at the timing, where if you are inactive, if you come to our system and build in the first financial year, and then in the next year when you have not been paid, in the next year after 3 months, if you have not paid, then we will take you to our committee and withdraw you and take you out of our data, so that we don't incur debts for people that are not active and no longer interested in our books. So it's mainly in relation to our annual fee model, where service provider come to our industry and then they lose interest or they are unable to service their dues. This is an inherent consequence of our model, but we are looking forward to being able to get to move from the annual fee and move to a levies model that will allow us to bill adequately and recover adequately and minimize the irrecoverable debts. And in terms of the finding that we were unable to prepare financial statement as per the GRAP framework, this is mainly due to the material misstatement. And if you look at the statement, and I'm not justifying the qualification, it's 2 items that were materially misstatement, which is the revenue and the cash flow that affected us. Yes, if there is material misstatement, AG is supposed to pronounce on GRAP non-compliance, but we have intensified our control and also went back to the GRAP framework to ensure that we comply adequately, and all other issues that are relating to the revenue have been addressed to ensure that we fully comply and we don't have issues that prompt AG to question our capability in terms of GRAP compliance, GRAP in preparation of annual financial statement in compliance with GRAP standards. And in terms of the significant deficiencies, in terms of the contract of end user computing, we have taken on contract from UIF that was completed. Unfortunately, we have not done due diligence on that. The contract that was given to us allowed a prepayment, and there is, in the contract and the request from the service provider and letters from the UIF allowed the prepayment, but there is significant risk issues in terms of the prepayment that we have. The risk issues have now emanated and then they've manifested themselves. Hence, we have an MI in relation to the prepayment. But to date, what we have done in terms of the training, the prepayment has been cleared. What is still outstanding is an MIC-SITA certification and also the consequence management, because if it's an irregular, there is supposed to be a forensic investigation and consequence management be implemented. Those are the 2 items but the prepayment as a to date was cleared. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Well, colleagues, I am going to move forward with the agenda. Next on our list is a short SAPS briefing regarding the rationale for the possible closing of the Inspectorate component. And then there will be a short opportunity for discussion. I would like us to aim to finish just before 1 o'clock in order for everyone to be in time for the sitting at 2 o'clock. DM Matale, do I hand over to you, or to General Masemola, do I hand over to you?
General Masemola.
Thanks, DM and Chairperson and honorable members. It won't necessarily be a presentation, Honorable Chair, it's just an explanation. Within the organization, there's been a discussion around the Inspectorate, whether to have it or not to have it. It is a discussion, Honorable Chair. There is no decision that has been taken. It's a discussion to say, Inspectorate, yes, have got a valuable job, but at the same time, we have divisions that are the custodian of policy, responsible for also policy monitoring and ensure that there is execution. And that discussion has not yet been finalized, Honorable Chair, because after discussion with the police management, the ministry, we still have to discuss with the labor unions and only then one can be able to say whether is there, which way is the decision going. So for now, it is a discussion which I can't tell you even myself how it's going to end up, because it's still something that is under discussion. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, General. Appreciate that. General, once we get into more depth with that, may I ask that the portfolio committee possibly also be briefed in the process? I think it's important that we get that input, especially from an oversight perspective and the role that Inspectorate plays. I think it would be valuable. I'd really appreciate that.
All right, no, thanks. We will do that before we finalize, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Colleagues, I am going to conclude, unless there is something on the agenda that I may have missed. You would have noted a meeting for this coming Friday that we then postponed. We'll communicate the new date as soon as we can. We're aware of a whole lot of messages being sent around about warrants of arrest and things about individuals and so on, and it's important for us to get everyone around the table in order for us to get clarity on a lot of this. So we will communicate the date as soon as possible. I would like to make just a few short remarks before we conclude. I just want to start just in general, and I'd really like to ask for the relevant persons, especially from SAPS, to just take a note on some of these points. And we have sent reports on most of it, but over the last few weeks, several members of the committee engaged, and also from the select committee and the NCOP engaged in oversight visits at stations. And firstly, on a positive note, I was encouraged that in most stations, despite the challenges that the members often face, there was a general care for the job. And I don't say this lightly, because I'm aware of challenges. I'm aware of many issues and problems as well, and regarding service delivery too. But it was good to see that there's this enthusiasm. A few things that came up, and I feel it's important, especially with regards to the findings from the AG report and the audits, etc. And I want to start with the challenge regarding 10111. 239 million rand given for improvements in 2023-24. But I must be honest, from the unannounced visit done at Cape Town 10111, just as a bit of a taste, to see the national issue, colleagues, I was extremely worried about a few things. The one that I was worried about is they were running at about probably 30% capacity. I think it could be slightly more here or there, but on average, they've got about 8 or 10 people in 10111 during a shift. They are meant to have between 20 and 25. So it's less than 50% capacity that it's run on. I think what worried me more is I spoke to the members. I asked them, let's sit around a table. And I know that this is often frowned upon, and members are scared to speak with us because they are scared of being intimidated later on. But I was firstly encouraged by the enthusiasm, but I was worried about the fact that just at that specific 10111 desk, almost all of them are constables and have been constables or on the level of constable for over 20 years. Now, if there's no encouragement or improvement in morale, if there's no form of incentive or promotion. Now, to add insult to injury, the Deputy Provincial Commissioner, I'm told, showed up at 10111 and gave a real, figuratively speaking, beating to the commanders there for sharing statistics and information with members of the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee. This is the way that we're going to approach things, and I know it's no one on this meeting. Then we're not being transparent, and then we can't fix the problems at hand. What the Deputy Provincial Commissioner General De Moy should have done is said, how can we get together and resolve some of the issues? Just like we send the necessary report in good faith, I expect the same from the Deputy Provincial Commissioner. Going off at local commanders is first of all not on, and trying to not share statistics with us means that there's no interest in fixing the root cause like we discussed today, because I get a good, encouraging feeling after this discussion. But then on a deputy provincial commissioner level, it's not the same. In terms of 10111 again, what we noted in terms of morale is that members that are meant to be working outside have been placed at the desk at 10111. And I understand the comment that they should be Police Act members. I get that. Many have been that were previous support members or administrative members have been shifted to Police Act members as well. Thus, the being constables for over 20 years. But that being said, a lot of these new members want to work outside. And I think it's important that we reconsider the approach of just pushing them into a certain space. I'm not saying everyone will always get what they want, but it is important that if someone wants to be a police officer serving the community on the outside, we should consider doing that. In terms of flying squad, just briefly, Cape Town Flying Squad again, and they're right next to 10111, thus the visit there. I asked the commander, do you have enough vehicles? He said, yes. And I said, okay, but how many are available? No, everyone, he says. But then I said, how many are in the garage? He said, 50%. So half of the vehicles at Cape Town Flying Squad were in the garage at that stage. That's 2 weeks ago. And then right next door to that is the K9 unit. And for the entire Cape Town, the entire Cape Flats, they only have 2 narcotics dogs. Now, here's my comment for the broader discussion we've had today, is that speaks of a microcosm of SAPS broadly in the country. And when I look at CFR, for example, and purely, in my opinion, gross negligent litigation that the head of CFR has engaged in with regards to the whole barrel issue the last few months, with a serial number suddenly having to appear in places where legislation has never said it needs to appear, and where the police continue to go to court when they know they are not only going to lose, but they keep wasting taxpayers' money. And this is where I get extremely frustrated, because in my opinion, the head of the CFR should be penalized personally. She should be paying out of her own pocket the tax money that she wasted going to court for no reason. And I think we need to be very direct with each other in that regard, that these types of wasteful, fruitless expenditures that we've seen today, people need to be held personally accountable, because it's too easy to spend tax money that we actually don't have anymore. The country does not have money. We can't afford it. In terms of legal services, and I can't speak too much on behalf of the civil claims, for example, but something that I missed in our discussion today was the feedback with regards to training. And I'm not talking about going to stations, etc. But colleagues, if we're not going to look at who's doing the training and who is in specific types of management positions, are they competent or not, then we can't expect to fix the problem. I look at Philippi Training Academy as the example. Honorable Schikkeling mentioned it earlier. It's a perfect example of the management crisis, the fact that many people, not only departmentally, but also criminally, are being investigated. And they are the ones training police officers that have to keep South Africans safe tomorrow, is very, very worrying. In terms of ICT and the challenges that we've had there that also came up in the reports, I think this is where we also need to consider not only triple Ps, but considering also how we can better professionalize this. And I've heard about the appointments and so on, but clearly it's not changing. You know, if we look at the Hawks as an example, and I know we didn't really discuss the Hawks today, but I went and did a statement recently for a specific matter at the Hawks, and they were still operating with CDs, literally CDs, that they had to put a recording onto. It's difficult to come to terms with the fact that we're still at that place in the police where we could be so much more advanced at a relatively low cost. In terms of General Fani, your feedback, In terms of saying fair or good, General, there are many examples, but I recently visited the Delft police station. Now, Delft is in the top 5 murder stations in the country. It's a devolved station. I know that for many years, people have been asking for capacity. And to be honest, it's not in a fair condition, and it's certainly not in a good state. Those cops are exposed to significant danger. The station is running it's meant to be able to house at least double or 3 times the amount of people comfortably. But at the moment, you've got detective officers with 7 or 8 detectives in one little room. They're playing musical chairs to find a seat. This has been reported. And this is where I agree that we need to hold public works accountable. Yesterday, again, I've been made aware that the Central Firearms Register office has been closed since last Thursday because of non-payment of electricity by public works. So yes, there we need to hold public works accountable. Absolutely. We've written already regarding that. But then where it is devolved, we need to make sure that we take responsibility for that. And then the last point for the day that I want to conclude with is the decision or the resolution by Parliament last year for a skills audit, specifically regarding SAPS management. I am of the firm opinion, and I know that many members, in fact, all the members in this committee have raised the same thing, that if we don't fix the appointment, promotion, and vetting process, then we won't fix SAPS. It's physically impossible. We have the wrong people in the wrong positions. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear what I'm saying now, but again, the 20-year-old that was appointed recently by the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence as a brigadier, it's not only embarrassing, it means that a lot of the generals who have earned their stripes will not get the honor, respect, have the authority that they deserve because we're making ranks cheap. That lady does not deserve to be a brigadier in the South African Police Service, and it breaks the morale of members on the ground. Recently, or last year, we spoke about Major General Mushaloji in the Overberg district. She's a major general. She's never had decent SAPS training. That which she had was after the fact, and was now, is appointed in an operational position in the abalone capital of South Africa with little or no knowledge about real policing in the Overberg. So, colleagues, I think summarizing today, if we don't fix the appointment and the promotion process, I'm afraid that all of the remedies we've spoken about will act as a plaster on a wound that needs surgery. We have to look at cleaning up and making sure that, yesterday I heard that family members of Richard Mgluli are still appointed in crime intelligence. And I know recently that was still the fact. If it is now, I don't know. It's something that we will follow up. But if that is the case, then it means that there is significant amounts of rotten wood that we need to remove. Everything that I've mentioned now, most of it has been reported. We have written to the minister, deputy ministers as well, and the National Commissioner, and we will continue to do so. And I'm going to conclude with that. I just want to say that we will follow up on the skills audit feedback. I know the speaker has also written to the minister regarding the skills audit. And I'm of firm opinion that this must not be done by SAPS audit. It must be done by an external objective entity, and we need to start cleaning up. I'd like to say thank you for everyone's time today, and we will communicate regarding the ad hoc meeting that I mentioned earlier that's been postponed, and we will communicate the rest for the next formal committee session as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.